Good morning, sir. Ajinkya this side from collegena.com. Very warm welcome to you on this initiative called Thoughts on Education. So, sir, we'll start the interview with a small introduction of yours, and then we'll go forward with the question here.
Very good morning, Ajinkya. In fact, it will be a pleasure to be part of such initiative by College Dunia. I'm Dr. Sujit Thekade, completed my PhD in computer engineering. Prior to that, B and Masters in computer engineering. I had been in education from last almost 17 years after my graduation, and I'm here by choice, not by force. Being from a family of teachers, I have decided to take this path in my career. Had been fortunate enough to work with Tharmal Shan Engineering College, Bandra West, Narsee Monjee Institute of Management Studies in Vile Parle, and Pimpri Chinchwad College of Engineering in Pune. And have been fortunate enough to play various roles in education, right from simple faculty member to head of the department to Dean of Research and Development, Dean of Quality. And I'm also Board of Studies member in Savitribai Phule Pune University for Information Technology. I'm a Board of Faculty for Science and Technology. And I'm in RRC committees of various universities like Symbiosis and others.
Okay. And sir, can you just give us a brief about what is exactly the quality assurance in education sector and how do we work on it?
The quality must have to be an integral part of any sector. Unless and until we don't maintain quality, the deliverables cannot be ensured. And in education sector, it is foremost important. Little people are reluctant about following quality standards and policies in education sector as compared to other sectors. But yes, quality is very much important, and we cannot bring quality all of a sudden. Consistent set of efforts have to be made to bring quality into the products which we are developing. In education sector, we are developing characters. We are nurturing students and their mindsets. So imparting quality is very much important, and ensuring that the qualitative inputs are reaching to the students and the expected outcomes are being met through is very important in education sector. So that's what about quality assurance. Consistent efforts, if are put into assuring the quality by means of various accreditations, by means of various certifications, then we can assure that the product generated would be really qualitative.
Absolutely, sir. Sir, the first question that we have for this interview is what is there was a new education policy that was introduced by government recently. So what is your opinion on the new education policy?
Government, yes, Ministry of Human Resource Development has come up with new education policy 2020. And looking at the new education policy, it is directed on some foundation stones which are mentioned in NEP very well. Those stones are access, equality, quality, affordability, and accountability. I call it as AEQ AA. All those foremost foundation stones are very much important. Government is, through new education policy, trying to overhaul the overall education system to make it more holistic and to bring more flexibility into the conventional education system. And the government is attempting on new education policies, advocating to make it more multidisciplinary rather than being into watertight compartment of disciplines. The very first change expected in NEP would be henceforth the Ministry of Human Resource and Development would be referred and would be called as Education Ministry. That is very much welcoming change proposed in new education policy. The earlier school education structure was 10+2. New education policy in school education is proposing 5+3 plus 3+4. What it means is earlier the age group of 3 to 6 was deprived of formal school education. New education policy is proposing to bring those children into formal school education. That is very welcome change, and it is advocated by most of the psychologists and most of the human education or children education related societies worldwide. So that would be one of the important changes. In case of higher education, the main challenge in India was very low gross enrollment ratio. As per as 2018 government statistics, it was around 23% only. So this gross enrollment ratio about higher education must have to be improved. In developed countries, it is more than 90%. So if we want to be among developed countries, even India needs to improvise the gross enrollment ratio. There were various challenges for improvising this gross enrollment ratio and attracting mass, people towards higher education. A few of the challenges are promisingly being met in national education policy. What the national education policy is promising, they are promising policies which will be much flexible, which will be in favor of students, and especially for UG programs, for undergraduate education programs. NEP is trying to make them more interdisciplinary. NEP is proposing multiple entry and multiple exit points for students, which is in favor of students especially. And NEP is proposing the major changes. I'm just trying to highlight. The NEP is proposing digital credit bank system to be established, where a student, if is leaving some particular course unfortunately in between before completion, student would be able to store the credits which that student has achieved in digital credit bank system, and in future he will be able to transfer these credits to new courses at new institutes where the student is joining. So that is a welcome change. And when I say multiple entry and multiple exit points, after every year of formal education in higher education or in undergraduate and postgraduate education, students will have multiple exits allowed, and every exit will be coming up with either a certificate or a diploma or a postgraduate diploma or a degree. So that is welcome change. The Higher Education Commission of India, HECI, is proposed to be set up as one single umbrella body for policy making related to higher education in India. National Testing Agency is proposed, which will be conducting all tests for higher education in India as a singular body. And high-performing Indian universities will be allowed to set up their campus abroad. Simultaneously, the top 100 universities across the globe will be allowed to come and set up their campuses in India. That is also one of the foremost change which NEP or National Education Policy has made. NEP is very progressive change actually to develop the overall landscape of education in India. But this is policy only, and the success of the policy depends on very meticulous implementation. So that is my opinion about national education policy. It is very welcoming change, but it would be interesting to see that meticulously it is getting implemented and percolated in all strata of education sector.
Absolutely, sir. Although the policies are good, but you have to see how they are implemented and how is it affecting the students. And sir, one more thing that I wanted to know is how is the NIRF ranking for colleges generated? Like, what are the parameters to decide rankings? Because students generally hear about these rankings, but they are not very sure what are the parameters, how they are decided. So can you shed some light on that?
Yeah, National Institution Ranking Framework is again one of the very pioneering steps which has been taken by Ministry of Human Resource Development in India. From 2016, they have started putting up and working towards these rankings. All the institutions working towards higher education in India in the sections like overall, engineering, management, pharmacy, colleges, architecture, law and medical are being ranked based on this framework. The framework is very holistic framework which is helping the agencies to adjust the quality and the kind of education imparted, the available resources in those educational institutes. And this is nationwide ranking. So looking at the parameters are there mainly being judged. The education institutes are being judged on 5 parameters. The highest weightages are given to teaching learning resources available in the institute, and research and professional practices being followed and outcomes being achieved by that respective educational institute or university. The other parameters are like graduate outcomes in form of median salaries, in form of placements, in form of students who are going for higher education after completing their formal education in those universities or in those institutes. Along with this, outreach and inclusivity is one of the important aspects which is looking into diversity like various regions of India where students coming from, the women diversity present and respected in the organization, and then peer perception is also one of the important parameters. So to sum it up, it is welcoming stage, and from 2016 MHRD is coming up with this ranking, and on the ground institutes have really started taking those rankings seriously, and institutes have started being competitive to be part of these rankings. So rankings are just reflecting that how capable the educational institute or university is for catering to the need of higher education. So from student perception, it becomes very important to seek that at least institute is ranked in NIRF when they're seeking for admissions. That assures that basic infrastructure, teaching learning resources, and aptitude and overall practices along with the processes are being present in those respective institutes or universities.
Absolutely, sir. And sir, how are this NIRF ranking can help student to make his decision? As in, what are the parameters or what are the rankings so that student can say, okay, we can take admission to this particular college or that particular college?
Yeah, the rankings are very reliable because they are being published and being exercised by MHRD, Ministry of Human Resource and Development. And obviously, students should seek their admissions into one of the ranked institutes or universities because this ranking is as good as external validation on the qualitative infrastructure and processes which are present in those respective institutes. And ranking are also taking care of not only peer perception but the outcomes of those institutes in form of students getting cultured and nurtured in those organizations, achievement of the students in form of placements and good salaries in placements, students getting admitted to higher studies. So those are the outcome parameters generally on which the educational institutes have to be adjudged. Students in their own capacity may not adjust the institutes, but rankings definitely do help students for making their decisions.
Absolutely, sir.
Along with students, even parents can be assured of that in spite of visiting the infrastructure where always it is not possible for them, they may rely on these rankings for adjudging the quality of the education imparted by respective universities or colleges.
Absolutely, sir. So any student who is taking admission at any institution should always look at this NIRF ranking and then decide for his decision. Absolutely. And sir, since you being a dean at PCCOE at the Quality Assurance Department, what is your philosophy of leadership? As in, how would you describe your leadership style?
In fact, one of the difficult questions to answer, but then I personally feel that leader should be the one who should set examples by doing it self. Number one. So then only you can ask others to follow it. Number two, I believe that in case of conspiracies and in case of difficult situations, leaders should always be on ground to tackle with the situations and to show the path to the rest of the team members to come out of those situations, no matter whatsoever difficult the situations are. Leaders must have to be visionary. They should be able to see and set the path for the institution for next 10 years, and accordingly they should be able to align and attenuate every mindset working in the team towards achieving that common goal. Simultaneously, the individual growth of every team member must have to be assured. And when I say leadership, it must have to have qualities like whensoever any problem is being faced, always responsibility should lie with leader and leader should lead to tackle that problem. Whenever some appreciations are coming towards the institute or the team, they should be passed on to the people and team members who have actually put efforts in achieving those things. Then only institutions can progress, especially in education sector. When we talk about leadership, always we should have and believe in positive motivation. So 90% of the team members do get attenuated towards institution goal by positive motivation. And for rest of the 10%, yes, little bit negative motivation. And at the end, if positive and negative motivation are not working, then we should think about other disciplinary measures to attenuate people for towards their self-growth and organizational growth. So that's all my personal thoughts about leadership.
Okay, okay. And sir, you at the start of the interview mentioned that you are in the education industry by choice, not by force.
Yes.
So, what makes you think that education industry is one of the best industries to work in for?
Education is very noble profession. The kind of satisfaction which you get, because the whole responsibility lies on education sector to set up lives of the students. We don't want to only educate students, but we want to nurture them as very good human beings. And holistic growth of the students can be achieved and thought of. So the joy of getting students set their own goals in their own lives very positively, and the joy of seeing them achieving those goals through your support is intangible. So we have, by being in education, the ability, the responsibility, and the joy of shaping up lot of lives in very positive sense. So in turn, that is a very good contribution for nation building even. If all these students' positive mindsets and energized minds are getting set up for achieving their own goals in life very positively, that is going to bring very good change in society and in nation. So that is why by choice I have selected this field. I love being among students and shaping up the young mindsets, igniting them to achieve their goals in life, and simultaneously being very ground rooted and being very good human in the personalities. And we try to even nurture some sort of social responsibility among the students. So the joy is really intangible, and that is why education is one of the very noble and respected fields in the world.
Absolutely, sir. Good to hear that. Sir, one more thing I wanted to know is how do you think is the quality of education in India today? And if there are some shortcomings that are there, how can we overcome that and how can we improve the quality?
So the education system in India today is little watertight, compartmentalized. It needs to be made more interdisciplinary. But the education system in India is too much dependent on teaching by the teachers. So there is little opportunity to make it more learning focused. And when we talk about learning, it should be more incorporating the experiential learning. These experiential learning or project-based learning is only talked about in Indian education scenario. But when it comes to Indian examination systems, unfortunately, due to certain constraints and due to certain limitations, still the evaluation is heavily dependent upon memorization by the students. So from this only memorization to application and understanding of the knowledge which they have grasped during the teaching learning processes must have to be encouraged further. And the evaluation pattern, right from only being limited up to memorization and reproducing that memorization in form of written examinations, it should be little modified towards checking the applicability of the knowledge which they have earned and how much student is able to apply. That is possible through experiential learning. Like in Pimpri-Chinchwad College of Engineering, we have a lot of focus on this experiential learning where learning is made more interesting by means of various activities and different content delivery methods being followed. So the more students try to solve small real life problems, the more experienced they become about applying the concepts which they are learning in theory into tackling with real life problems and coming up with innovative solutions. So young mindsets need to be nurtured and need to be trained for applying the knowledge which they are learning. That application and developing, or I would say inculcating the aptitude to apply whatever they have learned to solve the problems is lacking in current education sector. Probably the new education policy will be supporting to some extent to overcome this challenge, and more experiential the learning would be.
Okay, sir, you already also spoke about certain practices that are followed in PCCOE for this quality of education. But can you for the students and for the audience, can you list out some uh, practices that are being followed in PCCOE specifically for this quality of education to be
So
improved?
proudly, I would be able to, advocate, and I would be able to put those forth. We do follow PDCA approach in whatever teaching learning processes we are following. This PDCA is plan, do, check, and act. We rigorously plan before content is being delivered to the students at the beginning of each and every semester, that how that particular subject delivery is going to be for that respective class. This planning takes care of not only the theory content which is prescribed in the syllabus, but also this planning includes the experiential learning activities which we'll be planning for students. This planning includes how the concepts would be made more interesting among students for learning. This planning also includes how the evaluation of how much students have learned would be done. And for the fast-paced learners, what would be the policies? For the slow-paced learners, what would be the revision and remedial actions which we will have to take? How are we going to adjust that who are the fast learners and who are the slow-paced learners in that respective course content? Apart from this planning of content delivery, we also do qualitatively try to plan how are we going to evaluate and validate the content delivery done by respective teachers in the class is up to the mark, and the content delivery is reaching to each and every student of the class. So we try to come up with our own milestones for this verification in form of informal and formal reviews conducted in 360 degree, right from students, parents, up to peers and colleagues and teachers among themselves. Once this planning is done successfully, then we try to simply do and perform and execute that planning. And this planning is executed with number of checks for self-verification, for peer verification, that the content, whatever was decided, is actually being delivered to the students. And student feedbacks are taken twice in a semester, once after 1 month of teaching, to assure that whatever we have decided, we are able to reach out to each and every student in the class. Evaluations are conducted for understanding whether students have really grasped the concepts in the class, and enjoyable activities are performed. Experiential learning activities are performed throughout the semester. They are very well paced so that all activities should not get crowded and students should actually enjoy learning those respective subjects, and little applicability. Students should be able to learn about whatever theory they are learning. So this is execution phase. After plan and execution, there is check phase. In check phase, we try to verify that whether the content delivery is quantitatively and qualitatively being assured in all these subjects. So these checks are done through some formal reviews, which are set up in form of our ISO processes, in form of our outcome-based education processes in the institutes, and across departments. We try to review the progress at various levels. At department level, we have made certain portfolios to check internally, and inter-department to check across the departments. That is just assuring that the proper qualitative content delivery and learning is made enjoyable among students, so that right steps can be done if a class is not able to grasp a particular subject, or if a teacher is not comfortable with delivering those kind of content. So properly steps are taken, and then actions are being taken at right instance of time to avoid further delay. And after this semester is completed, then we do come into review phase. We try to review that whatever we have planned, to what extent we have completed that plan, to what extent the quality and quantitative deliveries have been assured, and then we try to revise our own plans further based on these experiences. And in this revision phase, right from bottom to top, all authorities, teachers, and few of the selected students are getting involved. So that gives us, further inspiration and energy to plan up the things for next coming semester. So that is why that is how we are assuring the qualitative teaching learning processes and qualitative delivery of subjects, and that is ensuring that learning is made more enjoyable. And in form of various accreditations and accolades obtained, we are able to see the changes, positive changes about the students' development.
Absolutely, sir. And sir, any insights that you can give us about NBA and NAC accreditations, and what are those accreditations and what exactly that means?
See, accreditation is very much important. No matter, as I said, that across departments we are verifying that the expected outcomes are being made, and qualitative and quantitative content delivery and learning is made enjoyable, and that assurance we are trying to have. But that whole comes in-house. Unless and until a perception from somebody who is related to education industry, who is neutral and who is experienced in shaping up the young minds is coming up, we cannot really improvise the processes and the systems, and experience for the students cannot be further improvised about how they are learning their concepts. So NBA, National Board of Accreditation, and NAC are the third-party agencies set up by MHRD again. So these agencies do help us to get our courses accredited. Again, the accreditations are 360-degree evaluation, where we look at those accreditations as third-party evaluation and certification to the processes which we are doing are correct, and they are assuring that the students would be further able to get good experience about the education, and that education will really be worth with the students. When we talk about NAC, it is institute level accreditation. So institute is being accredited by the NAC. When we talk about NAC, at institute level, all practices are being validated, verified, and at the end certified. And the committees which are coming for this accreditation, they give very good insights to the processes which we are following, and their feedbacks are playing very important and vital role in further overall quality improvisation of the organization or institute as such. When we talk about National Board of Accreditation, they do accredit every program. So it is department wise. Every department try to face it and try to get their graduate outcomes are being met or not. That kind of validation and verification happens through this National Board of Accreditation agency. So NBA and NAC, both accreditations are important, and we are looking very sincerely towards these accreditation agencies as the external validation agencies who are not only validating and approving and certifying the processes are being followed properly, rigorously and correct, but who also are playing very important role in giving us guidelines further that wherever qualitatively we are, how to further improvise the quality, and that ultimately helps in shaping up good students. So students get placed or get enrolled at higher studies, and they can come up with flying colors of achievements in their life.
Okay. And sir, since we are speaking about NBA and NAC accreditations, does PCCOE have these accreditations, or are you guys trying to get that accreditation by any point?
At Pimpri-Chinchwad College of Engineering, we are very serious about the accreditations and NRF rankings. I'm very happy to share that Pimpri-Chinchwad College of Engineering has obtained NAC accreditation with grade A and overall score 3.2. So first cycle we got accredited, and now continuously we are following all those processes for NAC accreditation, and whatever changes in NAC evaluation parameters are coming up with, we are attenuating our processes, and we are looking at that NAC accreditation not only as accreditation, but we are looking at NAC accreditation as the certification that whatever processes we have set up are qualitatively correct and they are ensuring the correct outcome. But along with this, we are looking forward to further improvise overall quality of education at Pimpri-Chinchwad College of Engineering, and we are striving hard to get further NAC accreditation continued even in next cycle, which is due after 3 years. And when we talk about NBA, yes, thrice the UG programs have got accredited in National Board of Accreditation or by NBA. And fourth cycle, again, we are very much looking forward because, as I rightly said, we look at this process as continual improvement process. And when we say quality improvement, it cannot be completed or attained by 100% anytime. Always it will be next step, and we always strive hard to achieve next step in quality when we talk about imparting education in engineering domain. So yes,
Absolutely.
PCCO is accredited by NAC and NBA both.
Okay, congratulations on that, sir. And 3.2, although we are not very aware of what are the scores, but I think 3.2 is a very good score. And sir, one last question that I wanted to ask is, since you are a dean of quality assurance at this PCCA college, any suggestions that you would like to give to education institutes about how to maintain that certain quality of education in their institutes and how to improvise on a continuous basis?
Yeah, definitely there would be. I'm very small to give any suggestions, but there are few experiences which I would like to share. That
Absolutely.
when it comes to quality, one must have to be really honest with self. Always, nobody else can judge the quality of the processes being followed and quality of the outcome being attained in no matter whatsoever we are doing than our own selves. So we should be very much aware about what are the quality parameters, what are our goals, what do we wish to achieve in education, especially in case of the formal education in technology domain, and how would we like to see our graduates passing up with, what kind of mindset they should have, what kind of qualities they should possess, and accordingly we should try backtracking the things and we should try planning for it. So hard work, perseverance, meticulous planning, rigorous execution, checking at the right instances of time, and very honest self-reviews. So I will always say that institutes should be self-critics. They should never get satisfied with whatever they have achieved. They should always look forward, and they should always try to strive for getting next steps of excellence. If they are known in their region, they should always look forward for being known in their state. If they are being known in their state, they should look forward for being one among the foremost institutes at national level. If that is achieved, they should look for international accolades and achievements. And that automatically brings that passion, and honesty keeps you always rooted on ground, and positively in continual fashion you can look for qualitative improvements within the organizations. The byproducts of following this process rigorously and honestly of improving the overall quality of education for shaping up the students the way they are expected by industry and society. The byproducts could be the accreditations like NBA and NAC. The byproducts could be the certifications by ISO. So I'm happy to share that Pimpri-Chinchwad College of Engineering is also ISO certified, and it is ISO certified institutes for its education. All education processes are being drafted as per ISO. So from last 6 years, we are enjoying that status, and we are gearing up further for new ISO certifications even. And the byproducts are NRF rankings and rankings in all other reputed agencies by the private bodies even. So I'm happy to share that we are ranked in NIRF for last 4 consecutive years in top 200 institutes in India. Based on this perseverance and hard work which we are putting, and very honest analysis we try to conduct in our review phase of our PDCA cycle, so that those reviews do also help.
Excellent, sir. I am very sure that this interview is going to help students on our platform. Students are going to get aware about what are the rankings and how quality education is maintained at PCCA and how it should be maintained at various institutes. Thank you for your time, sir, and thank you very
Last
much.
thing which I wanted to make is all the educational institutes also look forward for the research and research contributions. And while selecting the institute, student also should look into research outcomes of those respective institutes. When it comes to research, I'm happy to share that I myself have more than 4,500 citations on Google Scholar, Citation means our work is being referred by the other researchers in solving their problems or in building upon with the solutions which you have provided to certain problems. So 4500 is good number of citations. 4500 times it has been referred across all continents of the globe, and PCCOE is known for its own research culture, and we do try to set up that research and problem solving aptitude among students even. So research is also equally important when we talk about selecting the institutes from student perception. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely, sir. Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Thank you for your time, and we'll get back to you again, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.